And welcome back to more Hat in Time, Seal the Deal. Last time we officially wrapped up our business in Chapter 6. And this time, having gone all 45 timepieces, a special final rift appears. This should look very familiar. This is our bedroom, where our journey began. Heading down, we end up in a recreation of Mafia Town. Dropping down immediately, there's something we need to pick up along this beach. I think. Is it this beach? Yep, it is this beach. It is the first page. Yes, we still have pages to collect in our final Purple Time Rift. Again, until the DLC launches. For the record, there were going to be 2 free DLCs according to the Kickstarter. I haven't actually mentioned it, but the DLC was actually only free at launch and was $5 normally. Giving some final thoughts on this DLC, at least the seal part of the DLC. We'll cover the deal part at a later time. It's pretty good. For $5, you could do a lot worse. I feel like you could also do better though, potentially. So it all just kind of comes down to a simple question of how much did you like this game? I, for one, really like this game, so I don't really mind. Again, they've actually done a really good job of taking feedback into account, so again, even my initial concerns about the DLC from Act 2 kind of aren't valid anymore, if that last run was any indication. It ended up actually being really smooth. So, like, smoother than any run before, pre-patch. So, I feel like because of that, I can actually safely recommend this DLC for $5. Again, this is only part of DLC though, because there's also a whole nother mode in addition to the new chapter. And that mode I'm not the biggest fan of, but for $5, I think you can get enough enjoyment out of just the seal part, the Arctic Cruise part, to justify getting the DLC. Also, here's the page, ran right by it. So, how many chapters are in this game? 5? You can kind of do some basic math to figure out where everything's going to be in this chapter. There are going to be roughly 2 pages per segment. So here's another page. Behind that, that's actually really hard to find. I had to look that one up, I'm pretty sure. Each song is a remix of a song from the respective chapter, so this is basically the stealth music. Also, I swear that shouldn't have seen me. The beams of light go through the ground, so they can actually catch you underground, or like below the level they're actually standing, which is a little cheap, but actually kind of makes sense. So yeah, this is basically a combination of elements. There's the train, yeah, this is actually mostly conductor, I'd say. The buildings are kind of big parade, I guess, sort of. There's also a rift pond I missed. I'm gonna go back and get it, because this chapter is actually kind of hard. This act is actually kind of difficult. So we're gonna try to get as many rift ponds as we can to try to mitigate our, to make our lives easier. I'm just gonna phrase it like that instead of however the heck I was gonna word it originally. No, come back. I could actually use the health. So again, it's kind of neat tour because we're kind of touring all over old locations. And speaking of touring old locations, I think you can guess what's next. Subcon Forest, of course. I actually still stand by the fact that Subcon Forest is my favorite chapter in the game. I just think it has the best atmosphere. If I had to criticize one thing, I do kind of wish some of the optional areas were better integrated into the story. but that's a very minor thing. Basically what I mean by that is a lot of the forest is just completely optional unless you go for time rifts. And isn't really used for story. But that's a very minor thing in the grand scheme of things. This is really awkward. I don't know how you're not supposed to get hit here. I always get hit here. Or just whiff throw. That too. Honestly, I also find it a little bit odd that this time rift is actually arguably easier than the balcony. Not the balcony, the deep sea. Like, I find this actually really easy for the last thing, which is kind of different than most games, because it's like most games have their hardest challenge at the very end. This really doesn't. This is actually pretty refreshing, actually, in that regard. Just a nice little tour through all of your previously visited locales. There's a page up here, and for the life of me, I can't remember where the page actually is. I think it's up here, actually. So yeah, just kind of a miniature version of each of the previous levels. It's just such a nice idea. I can picture some people getting a little thrown off by this next part. You might be thinking, where the frick is the exit? And, as someone who's actually played this already, I actually don't know where the exit is. I've gotten a little... Okay. I've gotten a little turned around. Oh, there it is. The exit is over here. At the well, actually. So we need to jump down the well. Bit of a fall buffer there to try and not take damage. It actually worked, so that's cool. One weird thing is these lanterns are kind of not possible to be hookshotted, which it kind of feels like they should be, because they previously were. So we need to jump on this vine over here, and climb, or slide, climb all the way to the top. Kind of go around this branch here, and voila, we have another comic page, storybook page, whichever. I've seen so many terms, I don't think there is an official term. Oh, you can hookshot that. I've seen videos showing that that is a really awkward hookshot target. I say hookshot, and that's my Zelda instincts kicking in. It's called the grappling hook. I really like this one, because it's an amalgamation of sorts of all of the, Alpine Skyline. Like, there are elements of Twilight Bell. They're like this. There's very Twilight Bell right here. And there are elements of like the birdcage, the windmill. Is it birdcage or birdhouse? I can never actually remember. And this right here is actually, I would say, one of the harder platforming challenges in the DLC. Or at least in this particular time rift. That is actually not easy. I actually saw the page we're gonna double back for in a bit, so we need to open it up, collect the thing, and then reactivate it in order to not fall. So that's a very complicated segment, but it's actually pretty satisfying. And also, in addition to a rift pond, we can come down here for a page. Unfortunately, we need to go back, if I'm not mistaken. Because the other page is through the other way. I'm gonna do this, though. And deactivate it as it starts passing through, and then reactivate it as it leaves. It's very technical, and I like it. Like, difficulty isn't a bad thing. And, oh man, this conversation is gonna come up again next part as well. Difficulty isn't bad. I like challenge in games. I like being challenged. As long as it feels like it's actually utilizing what I know about the game really effectively. And this is a case where I feel like it actually does apply. It feels like it kind of just tests your knowledge on the game, without necessarily being like super difficult or anything. So I really am a fan of this time rift compared to Deep Sea, which I find to be kind of difficult, but also I still enjoy it. It's just not as memorable. Partly, again, I do feel kind of like a lot of the other fans that the aesthetic of Deep Sea kind of doesn't tie in well with the rest of the world, which is kind of contrary to literally every other Purple Time Rift. And actually, we're done here. So that leaves one more floor to go, and I think you can guess what's coming up. I'm gonna switch to the time stop hat because this is making me a little nervous. This isn't even where I need to go. Oops. Alright, I'm actually lost. Okay. It's by the Twilight Bell side of things. The kid's hat is really underused, I find. And that's not a bad thing. I don't use it much just because I kind of generally know where to go most of the time. But it's a really nice tool to be able to quickly figure out where things are located. Like, it's an underrated ability, for sure. It's just, I still don't use it, even though I like it. Here we go. But we're not done yet, in this little neck of the woods, as we have a page over here. Kind of an awkward jump there, but we made it. This is... oh, this is bad. This is really bad, actually. If I didn't bounce right, I could have fallen back into the lava. I would actually recommend playing this very safe, because again, bouncing. So I would highly recommend not touching lava very often. This is actually a really fun floor, which is why I'm a little sad we're not showing it, like, at all. And the reason we're not showing it much is we already have enough. There's this like little peninsula of timepieces that's cool. There's this whole puzzle sequence involving those hammers, except using them as platforms, which I find really cool. So we're actually gonna do this. Even if I might die trying, to be fair. Again, not the best depth perception in the world. Again, very risky, but also pretty satisfying. There's another puzzle over, like, right in front of me that uses a similar mechanic of jumping on the hammers to get a rift pawn. But other than that, this is a very straightforward, kind of platform-heavy floor. My only gripe with it is the little firefish that you see jumping out. I feel like they're not telegraphed well, so I get clipped by them a lot and lose a ton of health as a result. Like, right there, actually. I thought they jumped horizontal, not vertically, from where I was standing. Or, like, I thought they would jump perpendicular, not parallel to where I was standing at the time. So that was just my bad, I didn't know their pattern. But we've actually come full circle. We are back in the attic. The hero, obviously. So Mustache Girl was actually pretty normal before the Mafia arrived. Tried to greet them, got kicked to the ground, they took over, tried to fight back, didn't get well received, was forced to plan against them, stealing TNT apparently. And this is that little cave in Mafia Town, where she used to hide out before we met her. Sort of a tragic backstory for our main antagonist, actually. Believe it or not, we are still technically not done. Technically, it's a very technical kind of thing. It's It's not that big of a deal, but I want to show it anyway. If we go up to the... oh wait. It's actually back here. Ran right by it. If we come into the lab, we can find this little present box. This is a special version of the kid's hat. Where the heck did it go? Like, actually, where did it go? Completionist kid's hat. So it's just a normal, kid's hat, but it's a special item when you get all of the time pieces in the PC version. You used to be able to get this for 40, but now it's 46 because of the DLC. Obviously it'll go up when the next DLC lands. But yeah. Let's get our final items. I think we can get 2 more. It's all the same items, so I think we've cleaned out the Rift Token machine. The machine is empty. So again, if you basically get every Rift Token in the game, to my knowledge, you will have 1 left. So again, pretty cool. We have done everything there is in the main game. 46 timepieces as of the time of the second DLC, or the first DLC. All the Rift Tokens, 30 extra yarn, and we have done it. Oops, that's not what I meant to do actually. I meant to switch this color back to default. We have basically completed the main game, 100% on the save file. But there's one last surprise, no pun intended. And that's not a hint for a future LP, there's no way I'm doing Persona 5 yet. One last surprise awaits us in this DLC, which we'll be covering next time, kind of a little bit. We're not going to be doing the full mode though, I apologize in advance, but I'll explain my reasoning why then. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time for more Hat in Time, Seal the Deal.